All right. Good evening, everybody. We have got Barbara with us tonight, international model, walked the runways of Paris, Milan, New York, been on major magazine covers, worked with top fashion brands. But behind the glitz and the glamour is a darker truth. In this interview, Barbara is going to talk from her own real life perspective about the harsh realities of the modeling world, including experiences with Epstein, Diddy, former Abercrombie CEO Mike Jeffries, and Jay-Z. So we got a hell of a lot of ground to cover, folks. And because of the nature of what you've been through, Barbara, and we got a restriction on this channel by the cops, I've got to ask you, first and foremost, do you give us permission to publish your story, and do you waive anonymity?
Yes, you can publish.
Oh,
Yes.
appreciate that. Just before we get into all that, then, do you just want to add to what I said and just tell the viewers a little bit about your history? What got you into that career?
Okay, so when I was around the age of Texas looking for models, because that was the time when, models were kind of emerging and like.
You're breaking up a little bit, Barbara. Just as we start, you're.
Hear me now?
Yeah, it's. I don't know if. There we go. Start again.
Sorry, the trees. So I started at the age of 10, and when I was younger, around the age 5, 6, 7, 8, there was always scouts in Texas, like, finding girls and boys, because that's when the time when, brands were connecting with people and using them for their, brands like McDonald's and Disney and all these things. I was asked to be in Disney.
You're breaking up again, Barb. Or is that just me, or is that all of us, Sean?
So I think her signal's going up and down a little bit. Try again, Barbara. Let's see if we can hear you.
No, your sound's off now, Barb's.
Let's have a look. Edit mic settings. Edit reduce background noise.
Apologies, everybody.
Right, can we hear you, Barbara? Let's our audio's completely gone.
Yeah, Barb, you might have to go closer to the router.
She hasn't got a strong enough signal to interview it.
Well, I mean, everything was going fine ahead of time. Just so you know, we did tests for 20 minutes.
She's getting zapped. She's getting zapped,
man. She's getting zapped.
Bear with us, folks. Bear with us, folks.
There we go. It's typical, man. It's just the way it goes. No, we can't hear you, Barbs. Can't hear you. Still can't hear you. Now Barb is muted.
I just did it. I'm just going to mute and unmute and see what happens.
Okay. You might not be able to unmute.
Yep, stuck on.
Listen, everybody, we will get this figured out. I might go and call. We can hear you. We can hear you a little bit now, Barbara. Can you hear us? Is there any way, Barbs? I'll leave Sean to talk to the people. I'll give you a phone on WhatsApp, and we'll figure all this out.
Yeah, perhaps there's a different device or a way to get to stronger Wi-Fi.
Yeah, what to do is I'll pull me and Barb out of here and give Barb a call. You say wonderful things, and I'll be back.
Well, there's Maxwell news, so I'll let the viewers know. Maxwell has been transferred prison, folks. Would you believe it? Just like that. Do you know how hard it is to transfer prison? Maxwell has just been moved from Florida prison to a cushy Texas prison. Minimum security Texas prison. And this just comes on the heels of the meeting with the number 2 at the DOJ. The quote is from the U.S. Bureau of Prisons. We can confirm Ghilaine Maxwell is in the custody of the Bureau of Prisons at the Federal Prison Camp FPC Bryan, spelled Bryan, in Bryan, Texas. Maxwell's attorney, David Oscar Marcus, who's pally with Trump's number 2 at the DOJ, also confirmed the transfer but declined further comment. Bryan is described as a minimum security federal prison camp that houses 635 female prisoners. She's just getting everything she's asking for, folks, which is crazy. I'll be right back.
Barbara, welcome back. Apologies for the viewers there for a little bit of technical issues, but welcome back. Can we hear you? Is everything good now, Barbara? That's okay. Don't worry.
Can you hear me?
You coming through loud and clear, loud and clear. But yeah, actually, it's better than it was before, so that's perfect.
It is better. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so before the freaking DOJ zaps the live stream, go back to the beginning. Let's just pretend the first 60 minutes didn't happen. Welcome to the Sean Atwood channel, blah blah blah, and we'll pass over to you, and you can take us just set the stage for who you are, because obviously there's a lot of well-known individuals in your story, and I think it'll be good for the viewers to get the credibility of the guest and just know how you fit in this and the career you've had. So let's go back to the beginning, and we'll start from there.
Okay. So around the age 6, 7, 8, there were scouts in Texas that were looking for beautiful kids, like young children wanting to be actors or models. And that's when all these modeling schools started, is in the 90s. So that's when I was discovered in the 90s, and I started taking acting classes. And then around the age of 10, I was discovered by Bruce Weber. I was doing theater under the stars in Texas, and he discovered me along with other models or upcoming actors. And then I landed the Ralph Lauren.
Brilliant. We were doing so well.
And that's what started me off on my career. And then I connected with an agency in Texas, and then they connected me with an agency in New York. And I was going back to New York and Houston, Texas, where I'm from. And my career started to take off around the age of, let's say 12. And then I started going to New York and Texas, California, Florida. I even started traveling to Tokyo. I was traveling to Paris, to London. I was doing all the fashion shows. I was creating a name for myself. My enterprise started building up. I bought my first house when I was 15 years old. So I started pretty successful out the gates. I believe that's when all the brands and the models started to take off, like Cindy Crawford, Christy Turlington, all the supermodels were very relevant then. So they always called me Baby Cindy, like Cindy Crawford.
Okay, yeah.
But
So,
Barbara,
uh-huh.
did you feel safe at such a young age in that industry?
Yes, the reason why I felt safe starting so young was because my mom was always with me. My mom traveled with me up until the age of 16, 17. She traveled with me all the time. And my mom is Eastern European. She's Bulgarian, so she has a very heavy accent. I was born in Bulgaria. I came over here when I was around the age of 4 or 5. I didn't speak any English. So my mom was also in the entertainment industry. She was an opera singer in Europe, and she sang for, all the stars, all the diplomats. So she coached me when I started modeling. She said, "Look, you have to be very careful. This is not an industry where you want to, have your eyes closed. You have to keep your eyes open. Don't accept things from men. Don't accept things from women. Focus on yourself. Be the best you can be. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You don't have to do a job you don't want to do. You can always say no." So I followed my mom, and I kind of established a name for myself, and people were calling me Diva Babs because I would turn down jobs. I would turn down even jobs working with certain photographers like Patrick DeMarchelier. Patrick DeMarchelier is a predator. He grabbed my breast. I've crawled out of many windows from studios working with Patrick. We shot for Elle magazine together. We shot many jobs together. He was very inappropriate with me. So my agency basically threatened me and said, if you don't stop leaving, he's never going to work with you again. I said, I don't really care. So they called me diva because I was like that, you know.
Yeah.
How old are you when he allegedly did those things?
I started working with Patrick when I was around 18.
Okay.
So I
And
worked with Patrick for a long time, 5, 6 years.
and you know, just to set the stage a little bit for everybody there, your career started young. It went and it kind of snowballed, Barbara, right? You were saying it just sort of catapulted, and you found yourself in places and at events and being guided towards this sort of fame, if you will, right? So
Yeah.
let's just give everybody a little teaser, right? Because we're going to be doing our show tonight, and we've got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week. Obviously, we're going to be diving into Epstein's Black Book and what the meaning of that is, how it all connects, how you fit in with everything. But what other names and elites and celebrities will be covered throughout the weeks? Now, I just want to prefix this to everybody. You're going to hear some names now. When we talk about individuals, we may be smart about it, and we may have to guide you towards a certain individual if certain individuals may be millionaire rappers who can sue everybody. You know what I'm saying? So there's going to be some of that involved in the narrative. But just for this particular section, what sort of individuals have you, for a variety of reasons, met and been involved with over the years, Barbara?
Okay, well, there is a rapper who is currently in jail right now. I worked with him for 5 years. I worked for Sean John, the 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 fashion brand that Diddy Sean Combs has. Um, I worked with him for 5 years, and he threatened me after the 5 year contract if I didn't stay that night at his house for the after party. He was not going to renew my contract, which he was so cheap, by the way. I'm going to tell you how cheap he was. He was so cheap that I had to fly the next day to New York on a red eye shooting for Pantene that I got paid $500,000 for. And he hired me for 5 years and paid me $200,000 for. So it shows how cheap he is. So I told him, you can't afford me. I'm not staying for your party. And he said, well, listen, that's not a good look. You know, his son, who was his son? That cute one that had Quincy, I was modeling Quincy's fashion line, and he said, you know, you're the perfect fit for Quincy's fashion line. I said, well, then you have to pay me more. So there's that guy. Then there's another rapper that starts with the J, ends with the Z. That guy, big jerk. Uh, I'm affiliated with also John Legend, David Blaine, Naomi Campbell, um, Harvey Weinstein, uh, Renee Zellweger. Uh, who else? I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, it's a pretty long list. I'm not going to lie. Just it's probably quicker to see who isn't involved in this than who is, because it is a very complex tale. And you know, the center of this for you, Barb, is to expose the networks and the methods used by Epstein and individuals like him. The difference between individuals like you who are not only generating money but are chasing this promise of fame. So let's go to this. Let's sort of jump into the point in your life where you were introduced and Epstein became part of that world.
Okay, so the world that I was in was very. It's okay. You want to be at the top. as a model, your goal is to be a top supermodel. Okay. So in order to be a top supermodel, you have to be exposed, go to events like a Cartier party. You have to go to the after parties after a fashion show. You have to mingle with these high end elites. So in order to mingle with them, your agency tells you, hey, since you did the, Louis Vuitton fashion show, after the show, there's an after party. So you have to go. So you go to these after parties and you get affiliated with these CEOs, these other brands. You have to learn who is the designer and the CEO of Louis Vuitton, who's the designer of Tom Ford, who's running which magazine, who's the editor-in-chief of Vogue, who's the editor-in-chief of Marie Claire. That's my job. I have to know who is who. Why? Because I'm my own brand. I'm representing myself. As a model, I am a brand, I'm an enterprise. So I want to be up here, not down here. So I have to go to these parties. So what happens is a lot of these guys like Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, CEOs of many corporations, they call up the agencies and they say, can you please invite your top 20 girls to these after parties so all the men and women can make it like an ambiance, and you want to be the top 20, you want to be there, you understand, you want to be in these events, you want to be in these parties. So when the agency tells you you should go to these events and these parties, is to show that you're going to be there, take the photos, be in the prestigious elite. So that's how that works. That's why all the models, such as myself, want to go to these events, because you're a brand. You have to keep working and making money. So the agency, your agent, sets you up with these guys such as Epstein. Maybe you're going to go on a date. Maybe you're not. So I was affiliated with a lot of girls that went on dates with Epstein. And my boyfriend, my fiance at the time, was David Blaine's producer. So I'm already in the elite group. I'm already going to these parties. I'm already being affiliated with these top celebrities. I'm going to these parties. I don't necessarily have to participate because I'm already affiliated, but I'm seeing what's going on. You see, there's my photos.
So did Epstein, what was his reputation like? Was all the dark stuff hidden?
So the dark stuff, when we went to his house, when we went to his condo to go to these events and these parties, I saw all these people and people I was affiliated with. They were all there. And there were also models there doing bad things. And for me, I would watch these models and these men interact with each other in inappropriate ways. And I was watching and not participating, but watching. And I knew what he was doing. I was watching how he was interacting with all the models and also stroking them, touching their hair, flirting with them. And
So
when we were at Epstein's house, there was a room there that you can do drugs. It's whatever drugs you wanted, it was there. My fiance at the time was doing all these drugs.
So the stories that he used offers of creating work with Victoria's Secrets and stuff like that with the models. Was that something that you heard him use?
Yes. So all the Victoria's Secret models were there at the parties with the men. So they invite the models so they can be there for the men. Then they go in other rooms and do whatever they want to do. They have sex, whatever they're doing. You know why they're there. Then the women, they'll come out, they get Chanel bags or their apartments paid for. They get bigger jobs. I was never a big Victoria's Secret model on the runway because I didn't sleep with anybody.
I mean, I think looking into that world, people are asking, what did you want? Where's the free will, all the choices and things like this? You're chasing fame. You're hungry as a model. And you're in a room with people that you find out down the road are monsters, but those are the people that can make things happen. That's the difference between, you know, small time and catapulting to success. Now, did you feel like you were in a certain group of individual who started to see the true intentions of what having girls like you and models around for these individuals were? Obviously, you've talked about these hidden rooms and girls that you know, sleep with these individuals. You weren't part of that scene, and did you find that it made them try harder, or did it make them back off when you were?
No, they tried harder, and the men were also trying with me. Like when and then there was a point where I wasn't with my fiance anymore, and I was at these events without him, and all his friends were hitting on me, and they were trying to drug my drink. They were trying to push me into having sex with them, and they said, well, you're not with your fiance anymore, what's the problem? I said, no, I'm not interested. I know exactly what they're doing. This is how the operation works. How the operation works is you become their sex slave until you're old. After 30, you're old. After 25, you're actually old. That's what they do. You become their sex slave. They're looking for like wives to be their sex slaves, to participate in
It's the
group
trophy.
sex.
It's
In
the
group
classic.
sex. No, then you have to participate in group sex.
Okay.
So a lot of my friends that were in with these men had to participate in group sex.
Which is exactly what we've heard coming out, the Diddy case being reported on. It's exactly what we heard about the lore and rumors behind what goes on in the island and Epstein and these elites.
If you're not participating, or you're not going to these parties, you don't work. You're not working. You can't work. You're not relevant. So you have to go. You have to participate. And when I was there and I saw all the women participating and defecating on the tables with a photographer, a famous photographer, shooting them underneath the glass tables while they're defecating so they can stay relevant and have their jobs. That's how that operation works.
Yeah, it's the shaming and the what can we do drunk with power mindset of these evil individuals. It's frightening. Anything you want to throw over to Barb at this point, Sean? Any questions?
Yeah, Barbara. I mean, the viewers are just absolutely amazed.
I have got a narrative, so don't jump too quick into the viewer stuff. It was just in case there was any points you wanted to expand on there, because I want to go through some points here. I don't want to derail it, so just bear with us, side chat. Bear with us.
So the viewers are absolutely amazed by your testimony, Barbara, and you're a really powerful speaker. Now, you know, you're talking about all these women at these parties and stuff. What Maxwell's in jail for, and what was alleged against Epstein, was that minors were involved. Would they have hidden that, or would they have had minors in open sight?
No, they were there. There were young girls there. I know. I saw young girls there, definitely under 16. Definitely. Listen, after you're old after the age of 18 for Epstein. We all knew that. Everybody knew that. You're too old after 18. They just have these side women, like models like Giselle and all these girls, is like the front. Like they're the front. You know, they have like their girlfriends, but they also have like, you know, side younger girls, like 15, 14-year-olds. So I'm just basically like the side piece. I'm just showing them that they have a girlfriend and I'm the beautiful model. And then on the side, they have the young ones that they, you know, have sex with.
So are they protected by the local authorities because they're so wealthy? I mean, when Maria Farmer told us her story, she went through some horrific things and she called the cops. And the cops said, well, our deputies are already out there. They're protecting the premises. They're like bodyguarding the premises. That was for Wexner. So is there a relationship with the local authorities so that these guys can get away with these things?
Yes, in New York. In New York, yes. New York is very corrupt, as we know. New York, listen, everything's run by money. If you pay people off, they're going to do it. What do they care?
And what about Naomi Campbell? We've heard so many stories about her. Weinstein. She just appears everywhere.
She is everywhere. She actually has an island.
And have
She
you been
has
to
an
the
island.
island? Have you been to
No,
it?
I've never. No, but I've been invited. So my agency wanted me to do a Pirelli calendar. It's called Pirelli. Do you know the
Okay.
brand? It's a very exclusive brand, Pirelli. All the big models did it, Naomi, all these big models. But what I've heard, what happens is when there's an up and coming girl like myself that is not an established model like Naomi, I was like on the up and coming. I said, I am not doing that calendar because once you get on that boat and you're stuck on that boat for a week, who knows what in the world they're going to do for you, to you. I was on a job with Georgina and some other top models in the early 2000s. We were shooting for Harper's Bazaar. We were shooting with who was I forgot the photographer. He was disgusting. They sent me home because I didn't participate and do cocaine. I was a very young girl. And since I didn't participate and do cocaine, they sent me home. So it was things like that that I had to deal with.
Did you hear any stories about Naomi's island?
Yes. So Naomi Campbell is also Diddy's, she's the godfather to all his children. And my friend was human trafficked by a Naomi Campbell. I had to go rescue my friend many, many times in New York City at her apartment at 5, 6 in the morning. When I went to rescue my friend, Naomi and my girlfriend would have needles stuck all on their necks because an acupuncturist would come to her house at 5 in the morning after partying all night at these parties that they would have in New York, and they would fix her lymph glands because when you're doing a lot of drugs, your lymph glands get um, they get clogged. So she always has her lymph glands full of acupuncture so that she can feel better the next day. And they were both on IVs. And when you walked in her apartment, she has this candle that I'll never forget. It's a Deptyque candle. It's the dark one. And she has like 200 all lit up, all in her apartment. And it's the black one, the black Deptyque candle. It's that fragrance. And she has them all lit up like it's some seance. So when I went there to rescue my friend, I said, "What is going on here?" And my friend goes, "Oh, we were up all night partying. We're just like trying to feel, better." So I would talk to my girlfriend and I'm like, "What happened?" And she's like, "We were partying all night." And Naomi would bring her along to these parties and having sex with these men.
I mean, it's a
And
lot to hear, a lot to take
I've
in.
got, and so Naomi and I started off on the wrong foot. So then when I saw Naomi at Cipriani's, downtown where that was a spot for us all to hang, like Epstein and all these people were always at Cipriani's. There was a bar upstairs, which you had to be invited to. If you're an elite, that's where everybody goes. Like Harvey Weinstein, everybody was there. She was in the bathroom and I came out of the bathroom and she goes, "Oh, it's you." And I said, "What are you going to do?" She goes, "I just signed a big book deal with Oprah Winfrey. What are you going to do?" She was so high on cocaine, she didn't even know what she was talking about. And then she was starting to get in my face. I said, "Please get out of my face. I don't want to start anything with you right now." It was always stuff like that.
Okay. Like when you talk about the seance and the candles, was there ever an element of, you know, dark paths with some of these
Yes.
individuals with occultist undertone, shall we say? Did you ever
Yes.
was there rumors of anything that just sounded too odd to be true?
Well, yes. I mean, Well, there's a lot of things. Like when I was in San Tropez, I saw Sean Combs on his boat, holding an animal's head on the front of his boat, screaming, I am God, I am God." And when he was going out in San Tropez, he was always showing his uh, dark these dark things with the goat head or whatever animal he had on his boat. I mean, there's all kinds of weird things we would always see.
And is it just this like given factor that the girls, right, like yourself, the models on these yachts? I mean, are you guys? Is it just a given that you're all going to stay quiet, because it must be terrifying knowing not just what someone can do to you on a boat, but a billionaire, somebody who's got police in their pocket, the elites of the world. It adds a level that I don't think any of us will ever experience truly what that feels like. I mean, it must be there must be a lot of secrets in the minds of terrified individuals right now, ladies,
Yes,
women especially.
that's the thing. It's like a slow buildup. You don't It's not like so a matter of fact as you think.
Right.
You want to be in the elite group. You want to be in the upper group, so you can go to events. You can
Sure.
be your name, your brand is still relevant. You want to be relevant. So these girls, these models, they think that they have to go to these events and do things with these men so they could be famous and rich. They don't have parents like what I had to show you have discernment. You're using discernment for anything that you do. These women are broken. A lot of these women, I'm Eastern European, so I was talking in Bulgarian to some of these girls, or Russian, or Czechoslovakian. I could understand them, and they would tell me things, that they would go on these islands and they would get their apartments paid for, and they would be with these agencies that would give them visas, and they were never even working. I said, "How did you get all this money? I don't understand." And they said they have a boyfriend that pays for them.
Yeah.
So
And
when you're in the industry, you know who's working. There's only 5% of us that make a living. I was making well over 1 million a year. Every year I was very successful. That was because I was doing catalogs and doing these advertisement jobs. And at the beginning, I was doing all editorial, such as Elle magazine, doing all the fashion shows, so that you create your portfolio, so you become, a supermodel. That's what you're thinking. That's what you're working for, to become a supermodel. So they say, "You're going to be a supermodel. You have to do these things."
so, Barbara, when we're talking numbers like that, right? People hear that, and that's a lot of money. But what's the difference between what you were getting paid, 1 million a year, great money? If you'd sold out and went down the dark path, the money would have been 100 times folded, right?
Oh, oh,
Just
I would have not been able to walk down the street. I would have been super
yeah.
rich, super famous. Yes,
So
yes.
even at 1 million a year, we're talking like that is a 1% of what you could have been, even though it's a lot of money, right? It's the world you're in. When we're talking about billion, multi-trillion-dollar brands and enterprises, $1 million sounds great, but it's a sliver of what could have been if you'd sold out. And you were still a powerful brand. Did you feel like your career got to a point where you felt like you were being promised and promised and promised, and because you wouldn't break your code of honor, they just couldn't get what they wanted from you? And you'd mentioned instances where you noticed your drink may have been tampered with and things like this. How prevalent and how noticeable were the effects of those tactics on other girls around you during this time?
So when we would go out to the nightclubs, my friends owned the nightclubs. So they would have tables, and they would call them the model tables. They would have, actors, musicians, at these events. And so they would have these model tables with the actors, musicians, and they would hide, and bottles on the other side. So you pretty much knew which bottles were yours. I didn't really drink that much when I was out because I had to work the next day. But when you're out and about, you know which drinks to take and which drinks not to take. So a lot of these models would drink the terrible drinks, and then they would end up annihilated and going to these after parties and basically getting blackmailed.
Yeah, and it's
And
such a
the
it's such a
and the
repeating set of tactics that we've heard in so many cases, Barbara. The blackmail, the abuse, the coercion, the grooming, the promises of stardom, all of it. And it's
and so
scary
the,
to think what could
and
happen.
they would watch you. So I was with the guys that were trying to get the girls, and they would watch them get annihilated and bring them after parties. And that's when they would all go.
You broke up a
They would
tiny
all
little,
go to the after party.
you broke up a little tiny bit there,
That's when
Barbara.
they would. That's when they would annihilate you with the drinks, and they get the models, and then we go to the after party to Epstein's condo, or like a music party. All these.
Okay. So you're in the club. They cast out their net of drinks. Those who get caught in the net are the ones that are ushered back to the after parties and things like this. That is a scarily grim tactic.
Yes,
Again,
it happened to me one time. Yes, and that's why I stopped drinking after that.
yeah, that's scary. And for anyone that's going through something like that, it must be terrifying. And you you spoke earlier, right? About your connections with an individual during your modeling time that was connected to the Diddy case. Could you talk a little bit about your experiences with that individual, if you can? I don't know if you can.
Which one? Which one?
Cassie.
Oh, yes. Okay. So, Cassie and I modeled together from 2000, I think maybe 4, 5 until, let's say, maybe 8, maybe 2008. We would travel to we would work in Texas together. We worked for J.C. Penney's and Neiman Marcus. So when we would work together, she and I exchanged phone numbers. We hung out together. After the jobs, we would go shopping together. We would go eat together. So we became friends. Her mom would show up on the jobs with her as well when she was traveling, because we were both very young at the time. And so we exchanged numbers. We became friends. And then around 2009, I told her I'm in Miami. I wanted to connect with her and go to an event. And she said, well, listen, Barbara, I'm not modeling anymore. I'm doing the music thing. And Sean doesn't want me to speak to anyone right now, like going out and having fun. It's not on my radar. I have to focus on music. So I can't really hang out anymore like I used to. I said, well, that's too bad. And Cassie lived on 33rd Street and Park. And at the time I lived on 34th and Park. So we would go back and forth all the time and hang out in New York together as well. I think also that she moved out of that apartment and then moved into one of Sean's apartments in New York. I don't know where his apartment was, but she and I were close. We were friends, and I also reached out to her 2011 to tell her, I got married, and she said, "That's amazing, congratulations." And then in 2017, I reached out to her again because I was seeing some weird things, like she had some sort of black eye. I don't know. People were talking, and I said, "Is everything okay?" And I didn't receive anything back on Instagram. So I just figured she is not in contact
Yeah.
anymore.
Now, her course of action, where she said that she's stepping away from the modeling, did you feel like that was her stepping away from her freedom and friendship? And that
Yes.
sort of that course of action, that pattern of behavior, was that something you started noticing more and more within your circle of friends and individuals in the industry? And if so, that must have been, over time quite isolating for you if, you're the only one left, metaphorically speaking. How many people did you see pair off like that with someone? I mean, it must have been a lot.
Yes. Well, with that type of situation, whenever you're in the industry, you have to stay relevant, and you want to be in these events, and you want to be in these places, but you see things and you experience things that you don't want to see or do, but you have to be there.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice. You really don't have a choice. And if you stop going to these events and these parties, you're not relevant anymore and you're not able to work.
Okay.
I was very happy. I was very happy actually for Cassie when she told me that she's not going to model anymore and she was going to continue the music path. I was very happy for her.
Yeah.
There's, why continue something if you have a talent for singing? I didn't even know she could sing. She
I'm,
never told me. She
I'm
never
with
told
you.
me she could sing. I don't know
Um,
how she sings.
Okay, so just going by what Barb has told us already, we've witnessed multiple repeating patterns of behavior, whether it's the parties, the promises, the industry, and the individuals that make these promises to these young models for superstardom. We're now seeing tactics used by individuals like Diddy and other ones in those circles to get their prizes and their trophies tucked away from themselves and individuals like Cassie, that's reflected across the industry and individuals that you've met. Can we just circle back to the whole premise of the little black book of Epstein? Because I imagine the names and the methods, right? The methods will repeat, I imagine, so frequently throughout so many names. And I mean, we don't have to name these people right now, but throughout the episodes, this goes wide. People have often asked in the side chat, why aren't you talking about the people above Diddy and above Epstein? Well, this is the series for those answers, because you've seen how far and wide this goes, right?
Yeah.
From Hollywood to the political side to the CEO side. Let's talk about the black book. Let's talk about the types of people that are in there and how. And again, if you want to start talking with a little bit of, withholding some names, feel free to do so. But let's just
let me just say as well.
Sure.
So there's a lot of names in the black book, and obviously a lot of those people weren't involved in what was alleged. And when the black book originated, it was a staff member who had the black book, and that staff member circled names that staff member thought were allegedly involved in what Jeffrey was doing. And some names are even double circled for people that staff member thought were way, way, way involved in what Jeffrey was doing. So just to clarify, not everybody in the black book is automatically involved in what Jeffrey was doing.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And listen, a lot of these people in the black book, I'm just telling you the people I saw at these parties that are in the black book.
Yeah. We're not saying everyone in the black book is a rascal, but there is a massive portion of scallywags that we're going to group together, right? And then you can just assume your name is not in that circle of scallywags. If you are sadly in it, because when that got published, I phoned a bunch of numbers on it and nobody was happy to hear from me, Sean.
Let me give you an interesting take. Okay. I was with this agency, Women Models. Okay, they had Naomi Campbell, Kate Moss, all the top girls. They were pimping us out big time. So I have never had any plastic surgery at all. I've never touched my face or my body. I don't do filler. I used to do Botox. I stopped doing it, but I'm not into this plastic surgery, just to let you know. So my agent goes to me, the owner of Women. He said, "Hey, have you ever considered getting your nose done?" I said, "Why would I get my nose done? I'm I'm 16, 17 years old. I've made it this far in modeling. I'm signed with your agency, and you want me to go get my nose done? So I said, okay, whatever. I'll go get a consultation. So I go get a consultation with this plastic surgeon. He said, you do not need a nose job. Tell the owner of Women he's crazy. I said, fine. I then see this plastic surgeon at Epstein's condo, and he's on the black book. Yeah. So it's
Can
stuff like that.
I ask a
Stuff
really
like,
weird question, right?
yeah.
Did you ever notice any girls lose their career because of botched nose jobs or botched this or botched that, that then put them in a position where they're even more desperate now and willing to do things for these people? Was that ever a tactic that you saw
I mean,
displayed?
I saw Janice Dickinson, like, she was completely botched. And then I see her at Cipriani's with 20-year-old models on the countertop, spreading her legs, acting like it's disgusting. Like, yeah, that's a typical one.
Okay,
Typical.
well, big shout out, Janice. Okay. Even when you're botched, you're still holding it down. So
Still, but,
let's circle back, right? Because there's a theme to some of these people, and I imagine as the parties dwindle, as it goes from premiere to after party to creepy Diddy party, metaphorically speaking, after party, did you start seeing repeating faces that kept rubbing shoulders with Epstein and all of this whole operation?
Yes. Why are they there? What business does that plastic surgeon have being there? Why is he there? And he's also Naomi Campbell's plastic surgeon. How about that?
How prevalent were rumors amongst girls about being used as pawns in blackmail schemes?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. 100%.
Could you expand on that, or did you hear any stories?
Well, what do you mean? Like what kind of schemes? I mean, there's all kinds of schemes.
For with the lore of Diddy and the lore of Epstein, there's all of these tapes and surveillance footage that no one's ever seen, and we hear all these rumors about everything's run off blackmail, and wonder, models like you, taken to after parties, paired up with a celebrity, a politician, a musician, whatever, and then that footage is used to compromise the person that you were involved with. Was there rumors? Did you ever know anyone that was involved in anything like that? You don't have to name names or anything, but how prevalent was that in your circle, within the models, the girls, the trophies that were so chased by these men?
Well, this is the thing. I figured out what's going on. What happens is, at the Epstein condo, they invite all the big dogs, the CEOs, the big names, the celebrities, the actors, the models, and then they get the models that are like the ones that are working on visas, and they use them to sleep with the CEOs and the brand names of huge fashion brands. So they get women like me or Giselle or these big Victoria's Secret models. They lure them to the parties, so they're the candy, and then they get the CEO or whoever very drunk, and then they put the young ones on them, like the 15-year-olds, and they make them have sex and they film them, and that's how they blackmail them. They necessarily don't even know what they're doing. They're just getting drunk. And when they're getting drunk, they put something in their drink, and then they connect them with the 15-year-old.
Yeah, and let's be honest, when it comes from
I see that a lot. That's what was going on. That's what I saw. So a lot of these men some of them are innocent. And then they're blackmailed, and then they're indebted slaves forever. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what Diddy did also to probably some actors.
Let me just get ahead of the comment section.
Listen, if you're a regular going to these parties, like I've seen the regulars, a few people that I knew, why were they there every single weekend? If you're there one time and you make a mistake and you sleep with the 15-year-old, okay, mistake, you don't go back. You don't drink, you don't do that. But if you keep coming back, you're the problem.
Yeah.
You're the problem.
100%.
So
100%.
these men are the problem. If they keep coming back after, if they made a mistake one time, okay, you could say, you know what? I made a mistake. Okay, you own your mistake if you get caught. But if you keep going back over and over and you're at Epstein's plane, his condo, you're going to his island all the time, you're the problem.
Yeah, and let's just to put this out there. If you're a guy, you've been lured back and there's an intention to get you in a blackmail situation, you're completely half on another planet. You've been hanging out with two 25-year-old models all night, and then all of a sudden those two models are switched out with two 15-year-olds for the cameras to roll for 10 minutes, and then they're switched back out again. These are tactics used so that you'd wake up in the morning and have no possible recall of anything bad happening. Okay. And I mean, listen, it's you've got to understand, we as the regular folk, when we say something in our drink, all of this, we go to where our brain is educated. We've already spoken about the scopamine, right, which is what is used by these individuals to literally control someone's mind.
What is that?
Oh, listen, that's it's a naturally occurring toxin.
I mean, maybe that's what was in my drink when I got.
Well, it's usually breathed or blown onto someone, right? Because it's very easy to unalive somebody by accident with it. But effectively, if you're under the influence of that, I could say, Barbara, can you go and empty your bank account and get me all your Birkins? And you would go, no problem. And off you would go and you would do it. So imagine that in a human transportation or an island or an Epstein scenario for blackmail, for coercion, for all of that. It's terrifying, and it's the real deal. And for you to have this knowledge, there's going to be people who are saying, oh, well, you know, you knew about it, you should have done something. What was the fear like of the reality of a model taking it all down? Do you know what I'm saying? It's an impossibility. You are expendable, you are replaceable, you are not the first one. And this is decades old of women like you seeing things and keeping stum, because it must be a terrifying concept to think.
Listen, Ron, I couldn't even say which political party I wanted to vote for. Like, that's how bad it was. Like, all my years in New York, I could never say, I'm from Texas, okay, so you could imagine. I could never talk about that. I could never. I would be banned even from that. You are owned. You are owned. You cannot talk about anything.
And that with that, we often talk about conditioning when it comes to abusive individuals. And this sounds like a culture of conditioning that we're
Yes.
talking about here.
I became also like a people pleaser from it, because I was always like, what can I do to please that person? What can I do to make that person like me more as a model? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I had to say, oh, what can I do to make that, you know, you start thinking. And then the girls that are young and they don't have like normal parents, they're going to sleep with the guys to get them to, you know, like them. You know, they're going to do whatever they need to. So with that mindset, and I had a healthy mindset, I was even thinking that way. What can I do so they will like me more? And in my head, I'm like, well, I can't sleep. You know, I'm never going to do that, you know.
So
You're always, my agency made me fly back. I left a job and flew back to Texas because the photographer was inappropriate with me, and they made me come back. They said, if you don't come back, we're going to drop you. They told me that.
How prevalent was when you were at these parties seeing Epstein? Was Maxwell always with him? Was it always joined at the hip, or how much of a run-in did you have with Maxwell?
You know what? I could have seen her, but I probably didn't pay attention because she's so ugly. I only notice like beautiful women. She's so ugly. She's irrelevant. I wouldn't notice her there. I wouldn't notice her. She's not a beautiful person. I notice beautiful people. I remember beautiful people.
Yeah, see, And
Speak irrelevant.
it's a bold statement, but I'm here for it. Okay, so Sean, any further questions up to this point that you want to throw over to Barbara before I sort of segue us into the next part?
Yeah, I've got several. So, you touched on an important point earlier about these guys kept going back. And I think one of the most maddening things about Prince Andrew's story is not only did he keep going back, he went back after Jeffrey had his first conviction, and his security detail would have briefed him about that, and he would have overrode their advice to go back. So my question for you, Barbara, is did you ever see, or were you ever aware of royalty at any of these parties?
Oh yeah, Prince Andrew was two of my friends that were models. He was paying for their apartment in New York. They were 20, 21 years old. Yeah, they were sleeping with him. Eastern European. Because I asked them, how did you get this apartment? Because I paid for my apartment. I bought my apartment. I lived next door to Chelsea Clinton was my next door neighbor. How come these girls have very expensive buildings and they're not working, and I was making $1 million a year and they have better apartments than I do? Why is that? Because he was supplying their apartments, paying for he was at Epstein's. I've seen him there.
Oh, someone call Paula in.
He was
So
there.
you got the allegations by Virginia that Andrew paid a huge settlement for, but to this day he's denying even knowing her and saying that the photo with his arm around her is fake, or he doesn't remember it. Do you think that's preposterous?
Preposterous. If he was paying for those two models, how many other models was he paying for? Yeah. Check their bank.
You mentioned it. You mentioned him paying for models that were from Eastern Europe then, and the second procurer in charge after Ghilaine Maxwell was Jean-Luc Brunel, who had his own modeling agency.
Yep.
Did you hear about him at the time?
Yeah, he was my agent.
Wow.
when I was with Elite Models.
Wow.
I know Jean-Luc. I know Jean-Luc very well. He knows me too.
Yeah, and so you're suspicious about how he died? Exactly the same method as Jeffrey?
I think maybe they just probably killed him to shut him up.
Yeah, that's what I think as well.
He's nothing. He's just garbage. He's just he's a nothing. Like, so they opened up an agency together. Epstein invested into MC2 Models, and I know a lot of the girls that were with that agency, and I think maybe both of them were with Prince Andrew.
And did you get bad vibes from Jean-Luc, or was he a normal person?
No, he's disgusting. We all knew it. They would give the models bags of cocaine to stay skinny. So they would, work and stay skinny.
And what other stories did you hear about him? I mean, you can say anything you want because he's
okay. So Jean-Luc was a big predator. Jean-Luc would get all the Eastern European girls. He would pimp them out to all the CEOs of all the name brands. He would take them on trips, pay for them for their fashion, for their outfits. He would get them apartments. They had a model's apartment that they would all stay in, 10 women in one apartment, all crammed in. It was actually disgusting. And so I was looking into starting my own agency, my own modeling agency. I asked two of my agents in London to invest with me, and they said, Barbara, you're very ballsy for starting this. I said, I could take all the Eastern European girls and I can make them rich by working. And I said, these women are being trafficked. I know they are being trafficked by these men. So I was planning to start my own modeling agency and help save these girls, because they would tell me in our language what was going on.
So one of the allegations that Virginia made that's not picked up very readily by mainstream media was the allegation of what happened on the island, whereby there was a sex party involving Prince Andrew, Jean-Luc Brunel, Maxwell, Epstein, and a bunch of East European girls, and that Jean-Luc and Epstein and Andrew were joking. They were the easiest ones to do these things to because they didn't speak any English.
I know. It's true. I mean, look, can you imagine taking your models from your agency, whipping them down on your jet straight to the island, giving them some cocktails? Oh, hello, welcome to the, you get a cocktail and you have your beautiful Chanel bag and you could stay all weekend. Then they drug you and you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, so what you're saying really corroborates what Virginia said.
Yeah. That's what they do. That's why they open the agency, so they're not traced, because they're in a modeling agency. So the girls, they get them visas. They get the girls visas. They're not accounted for. They're missing.
Which was my next question. The pipeline Jean-Luc Brunel had bringing the girls in from East Europe, their visas were fast tracked through their connections at the government.
Yes, and I have to get visas to work in Europe, and that's also fast tracked. They have connections. It's very connected. It's very interconnected. These women are not accounted for. Look, what are you going to do? Go to the parents in Ukraine and Kiev and say, oh, where is your daughter? I don't know. She was modeling and somehow she disappeared. That's it. You're over. You're done. You're toast. And Jean-Luc does not care. He doesn't care. He's Epstein's pimp for the models. He's Epstein's pimp.
Barbara, did you actually hear of girls who disappeared or OD'd or anything like that?
So there was a girl, she was Eastern European. She jumped out of a building in New York. She jumped out of a building because of the shame she felt. I know a lot of girls that go missing all the time. We always heard girls missing. We haven't even gotten into the boys yet.
So there's another character I want to get to then that was above Brunel, and that is Wexner, who owned the Limited, Victoria's Secrets, etc. Did you guys hear about Wexner during those days?
Oh, yes. What do you mean? He's the head boss. He's the boss of the whole fashion industry. If you get in with Victoria's Secret, you're in with Banana Republic. You're in with Express. You're in with Bath and Body Works. Those are all big jobs. And once you're in, because I was in with Victoria's Secret, so I worked with Express and all these big names. If I become a problem, I start becoming a problem, they won't book me anymore. So a lot of these girls, they would say, oh, you could be a model like her and work for Victoria's Secret. You want to come on my island? That's what they do.
So researchers like Ryan Dawson and Whitney Webb have alleged that Wexner was involved with intelligence, Israeli intelligence, the Mossad, the CIA, and the mafia as well. Would that kind of thing have been kept secret from you, or would you have heard rumors of things like that?
Well, the rumor that I heard about Lex Wexner is that he's a big dog. You don't want to piss him off. You don't want to be on the bad side. You don't want to cause problems. We knew that somehow he and Epstein were friends, but we didn't know why or how. And so we knew that Jeffrey had some sort of connection to him, but we didn't know how. We just knew that you have to like kiss their ass. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to cause problems. You don't want to create any type of divide. You don't want to kiss and tell. You know who these big dogs are. You know that they have a higher up in the industry, and the agencies know this too. They work with them. Jeffrey Epstein would call my agency to get set up on dates with the models.
Yeah, Wexner was the person I was referring to earlier on when Maria Farmer told us she was at the property and things happened to her and she called the cops, and the cops were like, hey, we're already out there guarding the property. There's nothing we can do for you. And she was just trapped in the Wexner property. But it seems that he's at this level whereby he's so wealthy, he's in this untouchable class of people with Bill Clinton, etc., where nothing ever happens to these people.
I think it's so intertwined, and it's so affiliated with politics. It is much bigger than we can ever imagine. This is maybe just the surface. I'm trying to connect the dots to the bigger, to who's above them. Who is making these orders? Who is telling these agencies to get these models to come to the parties? Why? What is the reason? Why do they want to blackmail all these people? There's a
Well,
bigger picture.
yeah, we interviewed Ari Ben Menashe, who was former Israeli military intelligence, and he said that Israel was one of the prime movers behind the Epstein operation. It would involve the CIA as well, and that the Wexner property. You're asked about Jeffrey's relationship with Wexner, and people wonder where Jeffrey's wealth came from. Well, the property in New York was given to him by Wexner. It had the cameras pre-fitted, and we've spoke to survivors who, one survivor, one of the Epstein properties, ended up in the control room looking at all of the screens where all these videos were getting recorded. But what Ari Ben Menashe said was they were looking to have leverage over the titans of industry, politicians, royal family members. Prince Andrew was a big catch for them. And these honey trap operations, have been around for decades, and they continue to this day. And that's what Ari told us the motive was.
You know what it also is. This is really sad to me, because if you take like a man, okay, let's say Prince Andrew, right? Okay, he's kind of like probably like he likes young girls, has sex, but then you just kind of like, you make it to where they can do those things. It's kind of like a fantasy, and you represent it to them and you say, look, you could come on this island, you can have all the women and this and that. I mean, they're literally blackmailing you, and you fall for it. You're an idiot. You're stupid. But they make it so big and so normal that it's like, if you don't participate, you don't get funded. You just don't get funded. And just like a person like myself, I could have been a big actress. I could have been a supermodel. Yeah, I could have. But I just didn't take those steps because I knew what it would involve. I knew that I would have to be their forever slave. If I did those things, I could be kicked out as soon as I'm 30 years old. I'm washed up and old. It's over. My time is done. They're going to go to the next one. And then you have to live with that for the rest of your life, you know?
Yeah,
And
Juliet.
especially, and I like those, and especially men, like, okay, like what Diddy did to these actors. Like, you take somebody like Ashton Kutcher. We know he was at the parties. We've seen him in the videos. Maybe he was blackmailed one time, and then maybe he ended up liking it and kept going. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a model, I was in that crossroad, in that pivotal crossroad, where I had to make the decision: am I going to be staying a good person, or am I going to, go move forward ahead and be not sleep at night? I want to sleep at night, you know.
I'm interested in politicians as well who are involved. And if you look at the flight logs, there's a couple of dozen entries of Bill Clinton. He's not got his security detail on the flight log. He's just got a bunch of names that sound like East European girls' names. So what would your interpretation of that be?
Okay, so I went out with one of my best friends who was human trafficked. She's no longer here. One of our friends at the time was 25 years old. She was working for Bill Clinton. She worked for the Clinton Foundation. She was also dating a gentleman that was always around Diddy, always around on the scene. He was always around Leo. His name starts with the R, ends with the E. He was very prevalent everywhere. Uh, I don't know if he was like works for the government. I don't know, but she was dating him. And she was 25 at the time. And we were trying to research his age. He was maybe around 56, 57 at the time. We went on his private jet to Las Vegas to go visit Michael Jackson. And then we went to his house in La Jolla. She was working for Clinton. And I told her I just bought an apartment in New York and my next door neighbor was his daughter. So every time I was in New York working, because I was traveling to London and Paris, I knocked on their door. I said, whenever your dad's visiting, I want to have a chat with him because I wanted to talk to him because my friend worked for him. So there was a lot of dodgy business with that, in that scene. But my friend that worked for Bill said that Bill was always out and always around and always going to the parties. I never saw him at Epstein's, but my friend worked for him and she dated his close friend that is also compromised.
Did you ever see the art of Bill in the blue dress in Epstein's property?
I didn't see that. I wasn't looking for it.
With hindsight, then looking at it now, I don't know if you can see it on the screen.
Yeah.
Is that some kind of trophy that Epstein would have commissioned?
I think it's blackmail. I think he's like looking at you and saying, if you say anything, it's over for you. That's just me. That's just my take.
So do you get the impression that the Clintons are pretty corrupt?
Yeah, I mean, yes, it's, if I have to use my brain, yes. Yes.
Ronnie,
There's nothing positive I've seen. I don't know. Everything's negative.
Yeah. Okay, I just
I
want
mean,
to.
he's a charming guy. He's charming. I mean, he's good looking. He's charming. Yeah, I mean, I could see why women liked him. You know?
All right. So listen, everybody, can we, at this stage, can we share? I just want to remind everybody that Barb's story is large. And we will be doing 3 more shows next week, diving into more specific sections, the Diddy, the Jay-Z, the CEOs. This is a broad spectrum that we're getting tonight because it all ties back to the mindset of a fixer, a black book, and the infamous Epstein. Now, make sure you share, you should subscribe at this point, and make sure you get your questions ready. One of the shows next week, we will be doing a Q&A so that you guys can come and have your say. These, we want to hear what you guys have to think and be able to put your views across. And, Barbara, when we spoke before this,
Yeah.
it's so important that the underlying story is this exposure of the modeling industry. It's this use of women at this level, because we often hear about the levels beneath that, young girls groomed on Instagram by some weirdo to a hotel to have pictures taken. And that is the lower end of the monster chart in this, and as we go up, the taste, the power, the depravity just seems to multiply. And that is why your story is so large. We want to make sure that at the center of this, we have this exposure of this level of the modeling world. And, Sean, the individuals that you were pressing Barbara on, how crazy is that to have all that corroborated and to have yet another person who's lived the same stories as the people that you've interviewed, and these monsters, alive or dead, to start having the realities voiced?
Well, we've been studying this and researching it and interviewing people about this for about 6 years. And, we've heard so many different stories, and everything you've said, Barbara, just dovetails completely with what the other people have told us. So, yeah, it's great to have a fresh voice legitimize what we've been told for so long, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course. I just want to help other victims, and I wish they would all come forward and we could all connect and share our stories together and maybe connect the dots and see where this goes, because I want to know what's going on too. I want to know I want to know who's calling the shots. What kind of affiliation is this? Because it's very big. It's all connected. It's all connected to actors, models, entertainment, sports, politicians, the government. I mean, it's all, in the end, it's all blackmail. For it, that's all it is. It's blackmail, using people to get what you want. It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Mm.
And if you don't have parents that teach you these things in life, these parents these parents want to be rich and famous too. So they exploit their children to be rich and famous. They don't care about their kids. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's disgusting. Like, I mean, look at Justin Bieber, for instance. Where's his parents? Where's his parents? I mean, I have stories about him too.
I mean,
well, let's expand on them then, please.
Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of us invested in throughout the Diddy case, was just how horrific we felt the Justin Bieber story within the Diddy sphere was. This young man almost looked like he was given over by his parents, power of attorney, all of this. Touch a little bit about what you know about Bieber, if you don't mind, Barbara.
Okay, well, with Justin Bieber, I met Justin Bieber backstage at the Drake concert. I ended up backstage. My friends are in the music industry, so I said, "Hey guys, let's go get something to drink." So we go backstage. I get something to drink. My friends ended up on the other side of the backstage. I ended up by myself at the bar getting a drink, and then Drake goes, "Hey, it's prayer circle time." So this boy in a beanie grabbed my hand. He goes, "Hey, it's circle time." So I end up in prayer circle time with Drake, holding hands in a circle, and this guy grabs my hand next to me and says, "Okay, we're going to pray now." So I pray and we do the little circle. After we finish praying, I look over to my right, and it's this short little guy with the beanie, and he goes, "Oh, you want to go grab that drink?" I said, "Yeah." So we go grab the drink, and I finally figured out it's Justin Bieber. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." So I grab a drink with him, and I said, "I'm here with my friends and I'm engaged. I'm not interested." And that was my story with him, how I met him. But I saw Justin out at nightclubs in New York. I saw him out in LA, but he was always with like a big group. Like a big group of like guys, girls. When I saw him, he was with Kelly Osbourne, and I think it was like Paris Hilton. It was like that kind of group. It was in Los Angeles. I had a friend that told me when he was in Canada after his show, they were planning to leave Canada to Los Angeles on a private jet, and it was taking off at 7 a.m. in the morning. So her nieces and nephews went to go see Justin Bieber perform the night before, and they got backstage, and Justin goes, "Hey, where are you from?" They go, "We're from LA." He goes, "Oh, are you going back?" And they go, "Yeah, you could just jump on our jet back tomorrow morning. We're leaving at 6, 7 a.m. So Justin goes, "Fine, I'll meet you there." So they go there. They're running a little bit early. They go show up early, and they get on their plane, and Justin Bieber is there sucking a black man's cock.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. So they turned around. She got on the plane first, and before the children got on there, she turned around. She goes, "Okay, we're going back down to the car now. We're going back down to the car now," because she didn't want them to see him doing that.
Yeah.
He was with the black man, some black man. She said,
just no easing us into it, no build up, just straight to the.
It was fellatio. He was giving fellatio.
Which ties into what Suge Knight told us. Suge Knight alleged that Diddy broke Bieber in, let's say, and then pimped him out to executives who Bieber would go on vacation with, just Bieber and a male executive, to these different places around the world. And when we put that out there, people were shocked and surprised, and some people found it hard to believe. But from what you're saying, you're kind of corroborating that as well.
It was after his concert. So he must have been up all night with whoever it was. And then they took him to the airport. I think they probably dropped him off and he was giving them fellatio.
How old would you say he was at that time?
This was 2000. I mean, this was before COVID. I don't know, 17. Like it was like 16, 17, like around that time. Look on his tour. You can see when he went to Canada. It was in Canada.
Anything else you witnessed with Bieber, or any other rumors or stories other than
about her, that's all I know. I mean, that it's a fact. That's a fact. I mean, it's real. That's real. And I was confused too. I was like, well, why would he do that? And she goes, I don't know. It's so weird. He's gay. So we're like, oh, he's gay. He likes what guys? So you just hear things here and there. But I did not see that. But that it's a fact. It was their plane. It was her plane. He was on her plane.
So the other person who people worry about a lot, as well as Bieber, is Britney Spears. It seems like they've both gone through a lot of trauma. Did you hear anything about Britney Spears?
I have not heard anything about Britney. I just know that she's having mental issues due to, being probably owned and managed by a certain company or brand that owns her, maybe has managed her and trying to control her from speaking out. I mean, look, I'm talking 20 years, I'm speaking out 20 years later because I was just kind of waiting for Diddy to get RICO'd, but that didn't work out too well. But scary because also you're not able to work. Like, you be able to work. And there's too many brands tied in to Britney Spears,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why they're doing that to her. Just, it's sad.
Well, look, I think this is a good time to jump into some of our wonderful viewers' questions, if that's all right with Sean and Barbara. Sean, you okay with that? You got anything else you want to throw at Barbara before we go into the viewer questions?
I'm just curious about what Barbara thinks of the outcome of the Diddy trial.
A good question, yeah.
I'm very disappointed, big time. I wish he got charged for all accounts. I wish he got RICO'd because I don't think his fortune should be there because it was all money that is from victims and it's dirty, dark money.
You're breaking up a little bit again, Barbs.
Dark money, life, or even I think he should be hung for what he's done.
You're breaking up just a little bit, Barbs. You're breaking up just a little bit. Just shimmy it. That's it.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed in the outcome. I wish he got life. I wish.
Yeah.
I'm happy Cassie got her 30 million or 40 million and has her life. I'm happy that she has her family and her children. She has to live with that forever. I don't think it's enough money personally. 30 million is nothing nowadays. You know what? She could buy a house and live the rest of her life, but I don't know. Like, there's no money. It's priceless what that does to you forever. You have to live with. She'll never be the same. You're never the same. I'm never the same. I'm grossed out. I've always been grossed out by men. All my friends were always wondering why I never dress provocative. Like when I went out, I never dress up provocative because I don't want that attention. I am not that type of person where I want guys. I'm shooting in my lingerie all day. Why do I want to go out and get more attention from disgusting men? Yeah.
Now, just somebody mentioned Oprah, and that sort of got me wondering about women who are on the same level as these evil men. Was there any women who were just as bad as these men that stood out for you in these circles, Barbara?
Well, when I had my encounter with Harvey Weinstein, allegedly Renee Zellweger was there helping him, talking me
Let's
into.
take us back to the start of the Weinstein story, because
Okay.
that's so prevalent to the luring and the promising of fame and all of this, and it's a major part of your story. So let's start at the beginning with Weinstein.
Okay. So I was acting at the time. I had an acting agency, and Harvey Weinstein wanted me to be in the movie Cold Mountain because it was filmed in Bulgaria, and I speak Bulgarian, and I'm easy on the eyes and I can act. So I had a meeting with him and my agent. My agent called me the day before and said, Harvey Weinstein wants to meet with you for the movie Cold Mountain. And I said, well, you're coming with me, because at the time we knew all about Harvey Weinstein and what he was about. So I showed up to dinner. I had my dinner with Harvey and Renee, my agent, and then my agent left. We went to Bungalow 8, to the nightclub, and that's when everything started. Harvey Weinstein asked me to go to the Carlisle Hotel to go read the script, Cold Mountain, with him. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. I said, I don't do that. They handed me cocaine. I took it, put it in my hand. I went to the bathroom. I called my best friend who was dating Lindsay Lohan at the time. I said, I'm in a very sticky situation. I need someone to come help me. So she said, where are you? I said, I'm at Bungalow 8. I'm in the bathroom and I need you guys to come get me. So they came, they showed up. I was sitting with Harvey and Renee. They came and showed up. I said, meet me in the bathroom. They go to the bathroom. I hand Lindsay Lohan the bag of cocaine Harvey gave me, and I said, here, you can have this. I don't want it. She goes, score. She was very happy. And then I said, hey guys, I'm going to jump out in the cab in the front of Bungalow 8 and meet me in the cab. So that instant, I went to the front of Bungalow 8. I jumped in a cab. My best friend Sky, who was human trafficked by Naomi Campbell, and Lindsay jumped in the cab. And as Lindsay was jumping into the cab, the bag of cocaine fell on the ground. And that's when the New York Post posted that Lindsay Lohan has a cocaine problem. And it was actually Harvey Weinstein's bag of cocaine. How crazy! How crazy is that story?
We're gonna have to start. We're gonna have to say white, Ron.
Oh yeah. Sorry, yeah. So it's okay.
White Rug. Yeah, White Rug. How crazy is that story? So I didn't get the part because I didn't go to the hotel. But he put his hand on my leg. They were flirting with me, doing all this stuff. But I'm wondering, why was she with him? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, we just have to look at what movie she was in at the time you're talking about, and if she was starring in any that are suspiciously linked to what you were talking about. Because
she was in the movie.
Yeah. See, it's this promise of fame, and this grooming tactic, and we often think about the cases that are close to home with us that get reported in the news, and we don't often sympathize with the supermodels of the world, or the elitists and the people, the actors, the musicians, whatever. And it is scary to think that at the highest levels, in these positions that so many people want to be to, there is this deep-rooted, monstrous level of abuse and coercion, and it's so dark and twisted. We talk about it a lot, and there is the upper echelon of all this, Barbs, as well, which we're going to cover next week, is the individuals behind the individuals. And we're going to delve more into Diddy and into Jay-Z and tactics that were used within these famous rappers' circles to try and procure ladies like yourself. And Sean, again, unless there's anything else, are you okay if we jump into some questions just now? Is that right?
Yeah, keep going with the questions.
Okay, so these are from our wonderful community, Barbara, and they're all quite excited to get some questions over. So here we go. Are models of today still doing this, like Kendall Jenner and Bella Hadid? So
I
is this
don't think so. No, they're already so established and looked upon. I don't think so. I think they're just at the point where maybe at the beginning they had to go to the parties, but they had a father and a mother that was already established.
You're breaking up a tiny bit.
I know that.
Sorry.
I know that.
It's weird. It's your no. You're connected fine. It's your sound that's getting affected. It's bizarre.
Sorry.
That's all right. No, you're still crackling. It's weird. It's just your microphone. It sounds like you're underwater for some reason.
Better?
Nah. No, not at all. Do you have your headset or anything like that? It's really odd. It's just all of a sudden happened.
Very strange. Is that better?
Yeah, it's getting a little better. Yeah, listen, you can call me a conspiracy theorist all you want. Sean, have you frozen as well? Or are you just being still?
No, I'm always still. Some powers that be are shutting this down, aren't they?
And now your camera's gone off.
That's just my battery. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Perhaps if she refreshes her device or restarts her device.
Yeah.
Is there any way to communicate?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Communicate that to her. Let's see if we can.
Babs, you might need to restart your device. If not, we can do the Q&A over WhatsApp if I just call you, and people will be able to hear you. Whatever's going to be easy.
Oh, just roll it out to the next part because we're almost at 2 hours.
Well, we're at 90 minutes, man. It's okay. Relax. Okay, just relax. We got this, Sean. We got this. Okay. We've got to get these numbers. All right. Stop tracking. We've got 30 more billable minutes here. Okay. So we'll just wait on Babs getting back to us. And what's standing out for you in Barbara's story, Sean?
Oh my God, what is not standing out is the question, isn't it? It's
right.
Absolutely wild. I mean, we've interviewed people who have been involved or have witnessed or have survived or have researched all these different stories, but Barbara's story ranges over all of them.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah, don't worry. Nothing suspicious at all about the fact that your microphone's being affected at all. Nothing suspicious. And now you're gone again. Brilliant.
This is crazy.
There we go.
Oh my God.
Here we go, Babs. We can hear you. We can hear you. That's the one.
Wow.
All right. So one name that I need to ask you about, and you can call this favoritism in the side chat. This one's from a boy, Andy POV. Do you know anything that could tie Meghan Markle into any of these stories, these yachts, or being procured, so to say? No?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Andy. Sorry, Paula. I was hoping there was going to be some groundbreaking madness there for you, but sadly not.
No.
Okay, let me jump into some questions then. This is an interesting one because I noticed this, and this is from Nikki. If Trump said Virginia was stolen from the Mar-a-Lago, that means that there were underage girls working at his establishment. That's what I picked up on. Anything to comment on that, either Sean or Babs?
No, I think maybe if she was there, maybe she was hit on by other people. I don't know. I mean, I know that his niece was hit on by Epstein, and it ruined the relationship. I know that he was kicked out. I know that.
Okay. This is another one from Nikki. Is Sean Combs being sacrificed?
No.
No. Okay. This is from Nadine. Was Heidi Klum involved?
I don't know, but I've heard rumors.
Okay. This is just cough loudly If she was, don't cough loudly. If she wasn't, scenario. But next question from nice. Do most models stay thin by substances? Just wondering.
Yes.
Yeah, listen, caffeine and nicotine are food groups. Okay, don't let anyone tell you they're not. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So Freebie's asking, would you ever have personal security in these situations?
Yes.
But would these security be provided by the people who are the monsters?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's one of them. So I think what Freebie would mean by personal security is, do models ever have, a big guy called Jeff who they hire themselves?
Yes.
They are there to deflect all the monsters away, all of this kind of stuff. Would you say that was not a favorable thing for a model to have when being chosen by an elite globalistic monster, a massive man named Jeff? So I imagine the workload wasn't as good for owners of Jeff.
No, I was actually going to hire a Jeff myself.
Yep. Yeah. Well, listen, everyone, big shout out to all the Jeffs in the world. Okay. All the real ones. All right. Did you attend any film premieres? That's from Cats.
Yes.
All right. You want to tell us which ones?
I can't name. I've been
Freaking
to so many. I don't know.
Sorry. Yeah. It's a different world, Babs. It's a different world.
Sorry.
This one's from the wonderful Jen, which is Sean's wonderful partner. Who, in your opinion, is the head of the snake, Barbs? And listen, just remember, we don't have to go into this right now. We can save this one because it's up to you. But
starts with the M.
All right, starts with an M. Okay, well, we'll get some more. We'll give you a letter a night, people. Okay, so it's Predator Scrabble. So this is a simple yes or no one because I know we're going to cover this later. Was Ron Burkle involved?
Yes.
Brilliant. This is going great. Were male models treated in the same way?
In what way? Like, were they groomed?
Preyed upon? Yeah, all of the nastiness.
It's worse.
It's worse.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that's something that we'll address in one of these episodes next week, because that is something that I imagine is underspoken about.
Much worse. It's much worse for them.
Okay, well, we will dedicate a chunk of time to exposing that, because again, it's all about this industry, the models, and to only really cover 50% of the problem is doing an injustice. So, boys, we will get to you. Dupree, that will be this week. We will find out more this week. So what are we doing here? What was it about the secret taping? Who benefited? Because looking at Diddy and the Jeffrey Epstein cases, the public hasn't seen any tapes. It's blackmail, right?
It's blackmail. Also, you guys have to understand this, okay? My lawyer told me that they cannot let all this out in the open like everybody wants, because it's it's way too much. Even the jurors in the Diddy trial, they were even bothered by the videos. This is not for public. This is not something you want to see. I know a lot of people want to see it, but there's children, there's teenagers that look online. I have a young child. Like, you don't want to see this stuff. It's there. Why do you want to see it?
Well, it's more from exposing it to the public. The reality is, whether it's in a court and it's closed just to journalism. There's been multiple cases, especially when it's serial unalivers who filmed horrible things. The evidence must be seen, even if it's closed and controlled.
It sucks too for the victims. Like, do they want their bodies displayed in the public? Like, I wouldn't want if somebody did I don't want myself exposed having sex. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm with you, but
I don't know. I don't think it's not it's not like a game. Everybody thinks it's like, oh, it's like the New York Post. This is people's lives. These are people's lives that, look, Justin Bieber, I don't blame him. He doesn't want to talk about what happened to him. Like,
yeah,
I wouldn't want to talk about it either. What is he going to get out of it?
And
Nothing.
I want to remind everybody of the ritualistic shame stuff that goes on within these circles. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, well, why wouldn't you want to talk about doing X and Y? Because
No.
there's darker things than you and I
Yes.
can imagine. You know, we've all heard the folklore of the supermodel defecating on the glass table with the
Yes.
elitist lying under it. That is a reality. We've heard about it tonight.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and
Well,
it goes darker. It goes darker. Now, we're going to be doing Wednesday night. I think we're going to jump into the topic of Jay-Z with Barbara, so you guys can wait for that. We're also on, I think, possibly Thursday. We're going to talk about the PDFs and the inner circles of that and how that affects the models that are up and coming. And of course, Barbara, I mean, I've had extensive experience with shutting down problematic child modeling agencies in the Ukraine, in Yugoslavia, and shutting down problematic YouTube pages involving children being displayed. Like, for example, you know yourself, legitimate child modeling catalogs are little kids in winter clothes throwing snowballs and things like that, right? Not little girls in bikinis and chaps holding the riding crops. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So yeah. Now, we covered this earlier. Prince Andrew was prevalent, like you said. You told the story about the alleged models. So if you guys missed that, Maria, if you missed that, it is in here. I guarantee you the clip guy will have it clipped by freaking lunchtime tomorrow. He's going to be on this like a rash. Okay, he's sitting at he's at home now, time stamping stuff, just like, oh, get this ended, Gary, to cash in on this bad boy, 100%. So okay, so here's this is from Pam. This is something I've spoken about, which is the Pussycat Dolls. One of them stepped away from a multi-million-dollar record deal because she felt like she was a singing prostitute. And when Shirt Swinger was asked about it, Shirt Swinger turned around and didn't really deny it. She just said, well, I don't really like that word. Do you feel like what you've seen with yourself, whether it's pretty girls standing and posing or walking on a catwalk or pretty girls singing and dancing, is it a mirror reflection on the predatory world within the two?
Yeah.
And I say, what, guys, stay tuned, okay? Because see, once we're done this series, Babs and I have got a whole bunch of other things. Simon, Mr. Cowell, mate, I've just been waiting on the final piece. A year and a half, I've been like this. Oh, I'm digging, Si. Oh, it's fun times. Okay, so here's an interesting one. So why was Diddy doing all this? Was he under control of Clive Davis or another higher up? So, yeah, that's a good one for you.
I think he reached a level where, you know, Diddy's the GOAT. He got the key to the city of New York. Everybody in the industry loved Diddy because he's a moneymaker. He brings a lot of money. He brings money to everything: fashion, liquor, music. He's a moneymaker. But when Diddy's ego took over and when Diddy started getting too big for his britches, I think he got very messy and the drugs took over. He became a different person with the drugs.
You know,
I don't think he started that. I think he started that way. He was always gay or bisexual, whatever he was. But I think the drugs made it worse. And I think he was already on it. He was on a different spiritual path. He wasn't himself anymore.
Yeah.
Is what I'm
just listen, see, to everybody out there who's the same age as me and can't really remember all the Diddy fame and can't really remember witnessing the rise and the descent and all of it. Go and just look at the career of Conor McGregor, right? And that's like the wish.com version of the descent of fame, ego, money, alcohol, whammon, substances. It is crazy. It's crazy.
Is he compromised? Is he?
No, well, he lost a civil suit for a RAPE case against a woman.
Oh, so he was honeypotted.
Well, here's the thing. It's a very controversial case, right? We're not going to go into it just now, but it's one of those cases of where a woman has been R'd, but leaves the premises and then returns to the premises after the R has happened. It's complicated. He lost the case. She won. He lost his appeal. But it's interesting because when you watch who Conor McGregor was when he was at the start and who he is now, it's a Timu version of a celebrity descent that is just over the top. Anyway, so
or they framed him. I think maybe they framed him.
Well, nah, he's a bit wild. He's a bit of a rascal. I'm not going to lie. He is possibly one of the greatest examples of what happens when you take too much white on live television. It's,
Gotcha.
It's a spectacular watch. So anyway, so are these models getting paid for sleeping with elites? Now, I imagine there's different ways of receiving payment, right? But was money used, like the metaphorical wad of cash on the dresser the morning after? Was that a control tool? Was that prevalent?
It wasn't like money like that. It was more like they'll get you an apartment, you'll get the big jobs, you go on the big trips, you go to Italy, you go to France, you're on the yachts, you're creating also a brand for yourself. So you're also going to promote yourself, but you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Keep in mind as well, people, if we're talking about a situation where you're making,
if you keep doing that, if you keep going back, like if you're a big model and you keep trying to stay relevant and you keep going to these events, you're the problem too. You're a problem.
Yeah. And you got to keep in mind as well, we're thinking this from a regular person mindset. Barbara was already earning maybe $1 million a year at this point. And I mean, it's the next step up. It's turning 1 into 2, 2 into 5. That's the more of an allure to these other women than it would be, I mean, $20,000, $30,000. It doesn't make sense. They are pawns and they are trophies. And it's a scary, scary, scary world. Now, let me just keep going through these questions. Now, but this is a good one from Koala. How are you feeling now that you're talking about this for the first time? Because, I mean, if we didn't mention this before, this is all exclusive. This is all the first time you've really brought all this to light. And you are working with somebody who we know in the law world. If you want to talk about that, you can. But how are you feeling?
I feel okay. I do feel safe because I know I'm on a safe platform. I do feel better to be outspoken now because a lot of people are speaking out. I think this is my time to help other victims because you're not going to get celebrities like Justin Bieber to come out and help other victims and talk about it. So I want to help all the women and men in my industry that don't have a voice. Maybe they're still working and they need to make money and they can't voice, what happened to them. I'm not really involved in the modeling industry, so I feel better at this time that I can voice my experience and to help others so they don't fall into, a category as my friend did who was human trafficked.
Yeah, and we are going to delve deeper into the stories that are more personal to you, that really showcase the dangers and the pitfalls, and you guys can, take your own interpretations of all this. But it's so important. Look at the social media world. Look at young girls. Look at social, platforms like Instagram. All of this. There is a scary world out there, and Barbara has a wealth of information from the top of it. And
it is scary. It is very scary. It's scary. And I see all these moms too, like giving their daughters plastic surgery at the age of 15, 16. It's just disgusting. I don't even know what's going on.
It's wild. Well, look, we've got 5 or 6 minutes left, Barbara. Let's turn the table. Talk about what it is you're doing now. Let's put a positive spin on all of this and just prepare people for Wednesday and Thursday and Friday this week. This is going to be probably the most in-depth series that we've done on the elites, on the music industry, on Hollywood, on all of it. And, I just want to thank you, Barbara, for giving up that time and being brave enough to come and put all this forward, because Sean, he's got his years and years of interviews and his, direction. I've got my investigations. I want to ask you about the occult, the weirdness, and we're going to get to it all because that's the reality and it needs to be heard. So let's end it on a happy note, Barbara. Talk about what you're doing now. And
Okay.
yeah, let's hear it.
Thank you. So I started a charity during COVID for breast implant illness, women that have implants that are infected. And that parlayed into me starting a business. I started designing custom robes for the plastic surgeon's office because when women would come out of explanting, they had to go into detoxing. And so when you're detoxing your lymph glands, you can't wear like plastic clothing that have nylon polyester. So I started designing robes that are made out of 100% organic cotton, cashmere, silk. And then I parlayed and started creating my own brand that's called Malibu Cozy, and it's spelled Cozee. I named it that because I'm from Malibu and I just want to be cozy all the time. So I launched my brand, and it's custom luxury bathrobes that are all organic cotton and no chemicals, no dyes, and you can custom embroider them any way you like. I design for children and adults. And then my Instagram handle is Miss Barbara Adler 1. It's my fourth account because I've been so vocal about, you know, everything, politics to COVID. They don't like me very much, but I'm still vocal. That's okay.
They don't like us very much either. Don't worry. You're you're amongst friends. Don't worry.
So, I'm just who I am and I speak my truth. And if people don't like it, that's their problem.
Yeah, and I imagine there's going to be a bunch of people come next weekend with a big problem, and we're here for it. Okay, exposing it all. Anything else, Barbara, you want to throw out into the side chat to the viewers? It's been a fantastic night, and there's so much more to come. I need you all to understand. There's so much more to come because this broad spectrum, this mindset of a fixer, a man with a book that can touch so many high levels. Then there's also the conspiracy theories of facts of who is funding all this. Where is all the evidence pointing back to? Sean actually nudged and directed the conversation there earlier. We're going to dive more into that because it's time that we spoke about this. It's time that people paid attention. And like I say, we're getting there. So Sean, anything you would like to say, sir, before we close for the evening?
Barbara, my only regret is that I wish we'd have known about you earlier and got you on earlier because you've just been absolutely phenomenal. The viewers, it's been nothing but love and respect and support all night long. And we appreciate you, revisiting these memories and spending this time with us this evening. And we look forward to the next episode. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I feel like I'm in a place now where, I could be vocal. So,
definitely.
Thank you for having me.
We've got your back, Barbara. Don't worry.
We got you. So look, if you're not liking and subscribing, there's gonna be a problem. Okay, if you're just sitting there taking in the content and not liking and subscribing, just what are you doing with your life? Like, it's free. Like people talk about the cost of living and all this stuff. It's free and it means the world to us. So get it done. Babs, she'll be back with us this week. Mr. Atwood will be here too. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you all in the side chat. Thank you to the mods. Thank you to the Sean Atwood clan. Thank you to everyone. I'm going to be going live on my channel in about 15 minutes. It's Friday. We're going to have some shenanigans and play some really old school, nostalgic tunes and have a good time. So come over there and join us. We've got a Discord too. Sean, thank you.
All right. Adios, everyone. Have a good night, everyone. Cheerio.
Thank you. Bye.